everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Witching Hour podcast. I am your host, John Royceland. Today, I am bringing back to life, my opinion, one of my all-time favorite Asian films. Actually, let me rephrase that. This Korean film, this 2010 Korean film. Um, I'm just gonna jump right into it. You guys can see that clearly. And a little, no, okay. The film I'm referring to is I Saw the Devil, 2010 film that was directed by, I do have this written down because I don't want to fuck anybody's name up. It is a Kim Ji-woo film. Now it stars one of actually my favorite actors. I think this man is brilliant in everything I've seen him in. Choi Min-silk, who you might remember most likely from, he starred in Old Boy, the original Old Boy, and it also co-stars a Lee Byung-hun as a secret agent. Now, the basis of the film um, is Choi Min-silk is a cab driver. He's also a serial killer who preys on women. Doesn't necessarily say he's a rapist in the film. It is implied as he does attack one young girl in the film. But um, I do want to get one thing out of the way, right? First off, from the bat, so many people refer to this as a horror film. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can see how it can be labeled as one along the lines of Silence of the Lambs and so forth. It is a thriller. Okay. It is a cat and mouse cop against bad guy movie. Um, Choi Min-silk plays a nice guy, pulls over one evening on a dark road. Um, Young lady is in her car, broke down. She's on the phone with her boyfriend, who turns out to be um, Lee Byung-ho, who is a secret agent. Um, he pulls over, asks if she needs any help. She replies, "No, thank you. I've got the tow truck coming, and it's snowing." So you automatically know that it's going to be there for a long time. Well, she gets off the phone with him and notices that he hasn't left. As a matter of fact, he's gotten out of the car and is now attacking the car once she flips the headlights on. Kidnaps, brutally murders, dismembers, only to find out by one of her last words was she's pregnant. So the head is found from a manhunt in a shallow river. Body is found. Lee Byung-hun's father-in-law is actually the police chief. If I remember correctly, that was his actual character. So it becomes personal. It's a huge manhunt, and the chase begins. Now, many Asian films are very, very, very over the top, gory, and extremely sexually oriented. Is not so with this one. Um, this one is an action film in the sense of hand-to-hand chases and fighting and so forth, which is the one thing that I really want to highlight with this film. For those of you who have not seen it, it is streaming. For those of you who have seen it, I think you'll agree with me. There is a fight scene in which our bad guy is, I think he's actually picked up as not a hitchhiker, but just a random pickup, or he gets into a cab. I can't recall, to be honest with you. I apologize. But there's a fight sequence that happens between three people with inside the confines of a vehicle, not a huge SUV, not a caravan, just a four-door car, and it is incredible. Later on, there's another one in a household where he ends up. The film moves at a very, very good pace. Um, the, the filming is done top notch. Acting is actually very, very good. Sadly enough, you'll see a lot of foreign films, Asian inspired for the most part, that have a lot of really weak, um, small parted actors, whereas this one, all the way through, great job with everybody in this film. But like I said, when it first came out, it was automatically labeled a horror film. And especially because of the title, I saw the devil and they're talking about a serial killer. So everybody automatically just categorized it as a horror film, and it's not. It does have some good gore. Mm. Actually, it just has kind of the one scene towards the beginning where the young lady is actually already kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It doesn't physically show him cutting anybody apart. It's all implied, but it is a disturbing film nevertheless. It's actually kind of nail biting. It really is, and it moves at a very high pace. Um, there's one scene in particular he does that he doesn't does excuse me does an attack on a young lady while in the vehicle. You can just see it kind of come over his face, and he pulls at a lead pipe and sets it on the armrest in between he and her. And he just pauses and looks at her, and the bludgeoning begins. Now, I know primarily that which in our podcast discusses horror and horror only. Well, that's, you know what? I've mentioned this briefly, more and more so lately. Um, if it's a good movie and I just want to talk about it, we're just going to talk about it. So like I said, along with this is borderline horror and thriller, borderline action thriller. Okay. Now, when I say action thriller, please do not think this is Fast and the Furious 40. Okay. As a matter of fact, people like what's his name? The Rock and the fucking other guy, they could actually watch this film and take some lessons on how to do good thriller action without being stupidly over the top, because it doesn't need to be that way. And that's, I think, the thing that I love about this film is there is a sense of realism. Okay, you don't have car chases that are in at a starting point in a high-rise fucking $1 million building out in the middle of the desert and literally jumps and goes into the other one that's across the street. This is actual small time chases and fights, and it just has a very sense of realism, which is why it actually makes it so disturbing. Because you can actually picture this happening and reading about it in the paper or hearing about it online of a serial killer that was chased down by a cop, and the stories that implied that all build up to the overall story of the whole film. So again, this is one of my personal favorite movies. Um, I'd say probably as far as the Korean Asian market foreign film goes, I would say it's probably my number three or four, to be honest. And the other two are both coincidentally actual horror films. But again, for the younger people, 2010 film, I get it. It's already 15 years old. The actual release date in theaters wasn't until 2011. So it's been out there. It's now streaming on, I want to say, Tubi and maybe two other platforms. Um, as a rating when it came out, Rotten Tomatoes themselves gave it an 82. So that's definitely saying something. And IMDb give it a 7.8 out of 10. So you're talking the 80 percentile average. It is a long film, though. It's almost 2.5 hours long. So if you're just going to check it out, make sure you ain't got nothing else to do. You don't have to go pick somebody up. You don't have to drop anybody off. You're not getting ready to go to work, or people aren't coming over, whatever. You're going to want to sit and enjoy the film from start to finish, but you got to be able to acquire enough time during your busy day to do so. So again, I Saw the Devil, 2010 film. Definitely give it a watch. Let me know what you think about it, because there are so many crazy ass Asian films out there. And I mean, there are some crazy fucking films that come over from that part of the country. And like I said, usually they are extremely gory, extremely violent, um, and very, very sexually oriented. A lot of rape. The stereotypical role of a man in the Asian culture is always very dominant over the women, and the women are very, very quiet and submissive. So, with that being said, kind of trickles downhill, as it kind of does in this one. With the females that he attacks, you can tell they are quiet. They're very pretty, beautiful young women, always quiet, submissive, never really having that fight in them. So with that being said, it is what it is. But anyhow, please check it out if you haven't. I know I'm getting kind of long-winded on this one. I was just going through the wall of DVDs and wanted a good movie to talk about, and I noticed that this was streaming the other night. And I was like, you know what? That's a good one. So I hope you guys do enjoy the film as much as I did. I am John with the Witching Hour podcast. Thank you for joining me again. I appreciate you guys coming back. Please subscribe. Hit the little button down there. Promise not to annoy you guys too much more. Just kidding. I do have some great shows and a great interview coming up. In an indie horror filmmaker that you guys are not going to want to miss, whose film actually debuts tomorrow, the 31st of July. So please check that out. Also, um, that's it. Subscribe, follow me I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. Of course, right here, please peruse through. I've got a lot of great other shows for you guys to check out, a lot of great interviews with a lot of great folks. So you got a couple minutes, kick back and watch. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. Until then, keep it evil.